Hello and welcome to another episode of the Stew with JT Brew. We are set for NHL Around the Ice with Toast JT. We got our friend Aaron Tomasich here to talk everything hockey. We're going to give you a little idea of some players to pick up for your fantasy championships, kind of talk about playoffs, who's making a push, who's going to miss out, and some hot streaks for some guys around the NHL. Stick with us. You're in the stew. Oh, thanks for joining me tonight. Hockey action getting deep in the season. Fantasy playoffs, championships for most leagues are here. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. I appreciate you guys. Some action to go tonight to kind of start things off. Uh, Toast, we got Ottawa, Buffalo, Boston, and Tampa Bay going. Where are we at currently as we sit here with some of these ongoing games?
Yeah, the first game here, Senators. So Ottawa Senators at Buffalo Sabres is really a battle of two teams that really aren't going anywhere. They're not going to make the playoffs. I know Buffalo's decided they make maybe a little bit of a late push here, but they're too far out to actually make it. Right now, Senators are up 5-2. They're up 5-0, and just I mean, Sabres did not show up at all. I assume Pekka Lukin actually probably started in goal for the Sabres tonight. I'm assuming he got pulled. I haven't even looked at the box score, but you guys can probably check it out. But I'm guaranteeing he actually got pulled, and he's not actually finishing that game. One thing I actually like about this game right now is the fact that I put together a crazy two same game parlay or a same game parlay X. I had JJ Paterka with a goal and Alex Tuck with the assist. That happened in this first game. All right. So tonight in this game right now, the Lightning versus the Bruins, and I'll actually maybe let you guys talk a little bit about that one if you want. But I actually needed a hot Anthony Duclair for a goal and a Nikita Kucherov assist. If I do that, $7 turns into $185. So,
Ooh, real nice.
JT, how close have we actually been to those props that we've been placing where you actually find a goal and assist guy and maybe try to do a little bit of a stack and put 3 games together and put like $10 on it? It was going to go at some point. It's going to.
Yeah, we've been right there on that mix, goal and assist, and then we've been throwing either a team over goals or the money line in on that mix, and we have been right there. We've done a couple where we've put like 3 in a night. We take each game individually, and then we put them all together in the same game parlay X. Man, we've been like one leg away on like an 8 to 10 legger, like 3 or 4 times in the last like 2 weeks, with like monster payouts. I think I sent the one to you, and I was like, I think it was like plus 9,000. I was like, oh man, I was like, man, if we hit this one for like $15, it's like $1,200. It was ridiculous, and we just barely missed it. Um, We've been on some hot props lately. I mean, I was gonna talk about these guys. I mean, we'll talk about them right now because we're talking about gambling props and where we go. But absolutely on fire lately has been Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon. I mean, those guys have just been crazy. And Toast, we have been riding that streak, gambling as much as they'll let us put on there. As we have gotten, we've got the gambling guys are going against us now. They started to change the lines. They're blocking us on some of the prop plays, and we're getting zero bonus bets these days as we have murdered the last 2 weeks, just playing those guys every freaking game. It's been a crazy streak.
I feel bad because I haven't been putting toast takes out. And why haven't been putting toast takes out? Because there's only 1 or 2 takes right now. And that's actually bet Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon in some type of bet every single time they play a game because that's how hot they are right now. And especially the McDavid with the assist, man. I mean, it's insane. Aaron, I may give you a chance to actually talk a little bit about McDavid and McKinnon here in a second. But let me give the listeners again, I mention this every single time we have a podcast. literally what I am doing again is when McDavid and McKinnon actually get a home matchup versus a team that's 500 or maybe less, and sometimes lately they've been so hot it doesn't matter who they play. I'm taking again both of those guys to get an assist. Both their teams actually went on the money line, and both their teams either scored 2.5 or 3.5 total goals, and it usually ends up being around a plus 100 to plus 150. JT, we're hitting. I put it this way, listeners, all you need to know by doing that, I've actually hit a bet every single day since March 12th. So it's there's no other reason to bet anything else in NHL. Do it that way, you're going to win some money.
Yeah,
But
Toast.
Aaron,
I was gonna say, Toast. I've loved the big parlays. I love the crazy plus 900, plus 1,000. But I've been 100% on this with you. Like you jump over, like, we got JT, we got to hammer it again. I'm like, you're right. Plus 110, plus 102, like right there. I'm like, we just got to hammer these, 25, 50, $100. Instead of jumping on a bunch of different ones for like $20, I'm like, I'm gonna throw 100 on just McDavid over assist, Edmonton money line, hit it, and been hitting those. They've been hitting like crazy lately. The assists, the over 1.5 assists, the points over 1.5 points. We've jumped on a couple games, so we've had a good look. But Aaron, talk to me about a little bit of David and McKinnon. These guys, I mean, it's been awesome for gambling purposes, but in real life hockey, these guys are on an unreal tear right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I've done the same. I've taken the formula you guys have developed where again, I mean, and I know we've talked about this dynamic before. You've got Toast with the kind of grind out. Let's build up that house money, and then let's knock it out of the park with a JT swing for the fences type of parlay. So I love it. I love that dynamic. And again, I don't have the percentages, but ever since then, when you guys share those, it's been productive, we'll say. So yeah, there's nothing better than putting together a crazy parlay with house money. So but yeah, back, McDavid, I mean, Hyman just got a goal 50 a couple, what was it, 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago, last time Edmonton played. Like last year we saw McDavid the shooter. He was shoot first type of guy, where up to that point in his career he's been pass first. So what are we going to get this year? Well, now he's just doing everything. He's the wheel guy for the power plays, coming in on those power play points. He's finding maybe it's Leon, maybe it's this year it's Hyman. It just, and not to take anything away from Hyman, you still have to put the goal, the puck in when you saw his 50th goal, but he's just getting right in that paint, getting right in the, tipping him, because you can stand in the paint, you can stand in front of the goalie, but sometimes you can be too close where you deflect it. It doesn't matter because it's not changing that much of your shot. This dude's, he's a foot out, he's in the slot, he's wherever he needs to be, but he's within that kind of 3 foot radius. And it's sick. So you've got McDavid just setting him up, and then so you start covering the pass. You start maybe giving McDavid a little bit of room, and then he shoots it. So what are you going to do? And McKinnon, he's on another planet. I mean, McKinnon. I heard another podcast. I think it was Chicklets was talking about if McKinnon it gets the MVP, which I think now he's the front runner. Just his home points. He's getting a goal or an assist at home. I want to say it's 18 games, maybe
yes,
19 games now. And I mean, you go there, you pay your ticket, whatever. You go, you're a lifelong Avalanche fan, and he's got to be your favorite player. He's got to be the most popular jersey, and then he scores every game. He just doesn't
every
stop. So
game.
this year, it's crazy. It great. Yeah. So you got the betting dynamic, like the guys like us. Maybe we're not the up to date on the Avalanche fans, but we benefit from it. You got the Avalanche that are fans that are just loving this guy, and yeah, he's just been. And again, he's kind of one of those. He switches around. Yeah, he's got some top level, top tier talent around him, but it's just, again, I go back to the McDavid and the McKinnon, if I can use those two in the same category. And it's the back checking, it's the little things, little stick lift, takes the
Mm-hmm.
puck, goes the other way. Both of those guys can do that, and not many can do it better than them. So yeah, and we're seeing it. We're seeing, yeah. So if McKinnon gets this Hart Trophy, it's something to say when McDavid's still in his prime. If he ends up getting it, which it looks like he will. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll run down some of the numbers for people right now, just of how crazy it's been lately. So McDavid on the year, 26 goals, 93 assists, 119 points. He has 5 goals, 23 assists, 28 points in the last 14 games. That's 28 points in 30 days in a 14 game spread. I mean, just unbelievable dynamic. McKinnon right there with him. 45 goals, 78 assists, 123 points on the year. He's got 11 goals, 16 assists, 27 points in the last 13 games over the last 30 days. I mean, Nikita Kucherov was right there in the mix at the beginning of the year. He's at 41 goals, 82 assists, 123 points. He's got 3 goals, 18 assists, 21 points in the last 11 games, the last 30 days. His goal productions kind of fall off. He was kind of the guy right there in the mix, but I think, like you guys are talking about, we're talking about Hart Trophy. I think if the Avs keep playing the way they're playing and McKinnon stays where he's staying, I think McKinnon has got to go to him over McDavid this year. Don't you guys think?
Yeah, and I do think so. I mean, and really, Mc, McKinnon is having a career year. And really, McDavid. Here's the deal: what you say about McDavid, JT and Aaron. He's done that so many times to where now it's actually kind of like the Jordan deal, where that's expected. You're going to actually do that, so may make it a little bit more harder to actually win the Hart Trophy. JT, if you're able to actually look up, I'd be curious to see right now what McDavid is on the Hart Trophy, because I know McKinnon last time I checked was like minus 220, and McDavid was like plus 500. If McDavid's plus like 500, they got like 10 games left. He's scoring 3 points a game. That could be the play. He could sneak in there and actually get the Hart Trophy. And here's the reason
I'll look
why I
that
want
up
to say
right
that as
now.
well. He's got 93 assists. If he ends up getting to 100 assists, which he will, he'll get there. At this point, he's going to make it, which is crazy. That's how the heater he's on right now. He will be he'll be the fourth time in NHL history that a player's went over 100 assists. So think about that, and he missed, 5-6 games early on in the season. It's a crazy tear he's actually been on. Aaron, you actually just unlock something for me. And again, this is why I like having these conversations, is why in the world actually don't we actually just do the obvious things right in front of our face? What we should be doing is actually doing McDavid assists and McKinnon assists together on the same night. You'll probably get it at plus 225, 230. And those are going every night. And why do the money lines and that over this, just do those two together? Because you're probably
That's
going
a
to get
great
better
idea,
odds.
Toast. There's been a couple games where they've actually played on the same night where I actually put those together. Like we had those
Yeah.
individual bets, and then I threw them together the other night. I actually took the assist 1.5 for McDavid over assist. I think we were getting great numbers like plus 170. So I
Yeah.
added that to the McKinnon assist, but the only thing that burned us, we had it set, but the Avs ended up losing. And that's what burned the same game parlay, but it should have happened. I do have Hart Trophy odds on DraftKings right now. Toast, you
Yeah.
were right there. McKinnon
Mm,
right now is minus 250, Kucherov plus 400, McDavid plus 500
that's the
to
play.
win it. And he was like, what, I think either negative odds or like really low positive 100s to start the year. Austin Matthews at plus 1800. I think he's pretty much out of it. And then you got the other guys, Pasta's 15,000, Quinn Hughes is
Yeah.
20,000, and Collar Holloway is plus 30,000. So it's pretty much a 3-man race right now. But yeah, if you think that McDavid continues the heater and McKinnon falls off a little bit, the plus 500 is not a bad line there to take McDavid.
It's not. And recently, I think Vegas has done us a favor. So McDavid has been like minus 230 on an assist. Oh, I mean, gosh, I mean, for the last 2 months. They just recently moved him up to over 1.5 assists at plus 170. So you would think, oh man, they moved him up, like, or getting him an assist, those days are done. No, he's getting 2 assists every single night. They're doing us a favor. They're making it at great odds. Instead of actually getting a minus 245, you're going to get it at plus 170. Guys, we need to scramble now. We need a hope that both those teams actually play tomorrow. And I'm looking right now, and I see that the Avalanche do host the Rangers, and the Rangers of late right now have been giving up a lot of goals. All right, they've been giving up a lot of goals. They've been winning a lot of games though. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and the Avalanche, and then the Oilers actually hosting the Kings, which are also pretty good teams. So we got two teams, Avalanche and Oilers, that are both hosting good teams at home, but they're at home. Tomorrow's play is the assist for both, and I may put $1 million on it because I've been doing 40, 50, right? I've been doing conservative 40 to turn into 80 or whatever. Like, it's time to go. Like, you got to ride this hot streak because it may not happen again for a long time.
Yeah, I love that, Toast. That's been the move. I mean, you look at like we just said with McDavid, 23 assists in the last 14 games. So I mean, he is right there. I mean, he's right there at just under 2 assists per game. And he's had a lot of high scoring games in there too. So I mean, it's him with assists. If you want to get conservative with McKinnon, I've been jumping down McKinnon point sometimes instead of just an assist. If I got a few more legs in there, I could take like the minus 190 at over half a point. Instead of the assist, which is what has that been, Toast? Like 140, 150, minus 140, 150, something like
It
that.
has, JT, and now you'll be happy to know they just moved him up 2 nights ago, whatever, to 1.5 points. And again, it's at plus 150 or 160. They're doing us a favor right
I'm
now.
all over that.
And don't think these
Both of
guys,
them,
don't
plus
think these
1.5.
guys aren't paying attention to what each other's doing. They are, and they're going to be hot as hell going down the stretch here.
Oh, I love that. Both of those guys at plus money over 1.5. Just smash that for me. I'm putting that one in. The second I can get the odds up on that for tomorrow. I'm gonna wait for the late games tonight. Second games are, and they got the odds up for tomorrow. Boom. I'm jumping on it. If it's not available yet, I'm gonna jump on it then. So yeah, Toast. I absolutely love that. Jumping on to let's move on here to our next topic as we go through. It's that time. It's fantasy playoff championships. For those of us who have been, lucky enough to make it, not me. I bowed out early this year, but for some people that have gotten to the championships, Toast, and that might be listening, what are some guys, some timely maybe pickups or drops that we can make here over the last week or so? Some people are in a 1 week championship, some people are in a 2 week championship. Is there anybody kind of keep an eye out, especially as we get to the end of the year here? And people kind of drop guys as they're like, "Oh, I'm trying to get extra plays." Who do we kind of like?
Well, I like a duo in Dallas, and it's not the duo you're thinking. Most everybody thinks of the duo, or actually the trio, would actually be the combination of Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski, and they've been really, really good. But as we've said all year, they haven't been top notch like we thought they'd be all year. And that's really honestly a good thing for Dallas as a team. Set aside fantasy, right? As a team, because they can roll 3 strong lines at you, man. Again, we've always said how much we love Dallas, and I just do think Dallas is going to be there in the mix. In the final 4 teams, likely they're just that good. But Jamie Benn is actually, and Wyatt Johnson have both been on heaters over the last 30 days. I guess they both played 13 games there, and they both have 16 points in that time. They both play on line 3. So think about it. Line 3, you're actually outperforming line 1. You're actually outperforming line 2 as well. And they've been on power play 2 as well. And they're just making every bit of the opportunity. Ben, I would say kind of, hey, loving playing with a young guy, Wyatt Johnston. But these guys are probably pretty difficult to go ahead and get at this time. You may find Wyatt Johnson. I will say Jamie Benn was available last week in my 18-team league for the Cupful that I actually the Keeping Carlson Fantasy Ultimate Fantasy Patron League. He was available last week, and somebody actually picked him up. Now, I will say I'm in the championship of our home league. I'm going against Jeff Daler. He picked up Jamie Benn. He always does stuff like that. And so now he have actually picked up Jamie Benn, and Ben's going wild right now with eight goals in his last 13. But Aaron, I'm going to ask you, Robertson, Hintz, Pavelski, and then having a line like this on line 3, like, what's your thought on Dallas? I mean, again, they may not be the sexy pick, but if you look at their lines, they probably roll out 3 lines that are just as good, if not better than anyone.
Yeah, yeah. I know we kind of touched on that on all of us have a have a financial interest also in Dallas doing well. So yeah, yeah. I mean if that's your line three, I mean come on and oh gosh, the name escapes me right now, but the little guy, the AHL guy,
Oh, Stankoven or whatever his name is.
yeah,
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 he's
yeah.
skating
He's
with Johnston and Ben, and he's
yeah,
just he's just a little water bug. He's dodging hits. He's getting them the puck. I mean, what surprised me that the team leader is Wyatt Johnson in goals for Dallas. Just kind of a
that's
quiet
scary.
28. They don't have 50 goal guy. A lot of teams are getting back to those 50 goal guys, but Wyatt Johnson, last year's playoffs is where this kind of kid jumped off the map to me. Like he played hard, he played well, he showed up every game, really made a name for himself. I think he might have had a little bit of a quiet start. I only know this because I ended up drafting him. I was hook, line, and sinker for what I saw him do in the playoffs, but he's kind of ramping up now. So I absolutely, and I did not realize that Ben was still out there in our league because yeah, it would have been a good one to get on with him.
I had
Him
Ben. I
playing with
had him, and
this
I had
too.
to drop him to get extra plays. So that's what I'm saying. I had him, and I was like at the very end, I was like, oh man, I got to get like a 2 extra plays. And so he was like one of those guys I had on my team all year, and I dropped him in the playoffs, or like I was going for the number 1 pick. Well, in our
Yeah,
league, in the if you miss the playoffs, you fight for the number 1 pick in a tournament. I was trying to go and get extra plays of that number 1 pick, and that's why I dropped Ben, and that's why he was out there because I had him on my team all year. So that's why it's smart. You got to go out there and look because sometimes, especially if
yeah.
teams are done, like in our league, we're done now. It's only the 2 championship teams left. So if anyone dropped players right at the end trying to get extra plays, some of those good players are out there now.
100%. And those two right off the bat are potentially those guys where you're scrambling. You're in scramble mode. I mean, outside of now, with it being the championship week in most leagues, but leading up into that, you're right. You got to look at it every day, see it every day, whether it's you got a set a reminder on your phone or
Hmm.
you don't
Hmm.
know who's out there. But yeah, definitely those two guys are ramping up. They know what it takes. They both, JB Ben obviously more so the longer he's been through this song and dance before, but Wyatt Johnston, God, he was so good in the playoffs last year. I expect nothing less.
Yeah, I mean, he was drafted 23rd overall in the 2021 draft. So I don't know if he played I don't think he played a full season with Dallas last year. But let's just
Right.
say he had a very, very short stint getting ready to actually go to NHL play last year, and he's never looked back. That's pretty
Yeah.
rare. The guy's 20 years old, and being drafted 23rd overall, he's playing like he was drafted third overall.
Yeah.
And so you'll get those diamonds in the rough every once in a while, and he was definitely a diamond in the rough. 6'1", I see 185 here, 20 years old. Reminds me of say, hey, doesn't remind me of the player. All right, let's not compare players, but draft position. DeBrincat was a second round guy, and DeBrincat had a very short stint in the minors or the AHL, WHL, probably the AHL when he actually got drafted. Went to the Hawks, and the rest is history as well. About the same age coming out, so you can find those guys in the late first round, early second round. There, man, and they're just snipes, shoot first, and definitely DeBrincat's that. Wyatt Johnson seems to have an overall game, right? Especially with his size, a lot taller than the guy. He plays center. DeBrincat's actually the winger. But just again, draft position. You just look at that and you're like, wow. So this is Wyatt Johnson, man. He's overshot expectations as far as his draft position goes, and he looks like he's not going to slow up at all.
I've been
What
jumping
a
on him
man!
over half
Dallas
a
is
point.
just stacked.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Toast. I've been jumping on him over half a point in some bets too. Throwing if I'm like needing an extra leg, I want one more thing in there. I've been jumping over him over half a point because he has been on fire the last 10 to 14 games. He's only had
He
2
has.
scoreless game, I think 3 scoreless games in that streak, and he's had
That's it.
multiple point games where he's had 3 points. He had one game he had a hat trick and 2 assists. So I mean, he's been up there. He's been putting goals up there. Few more goals and assists, so that's why I like to jump on the point. If you want to shoot for the goal, obviously you're going to get yourself better odds on that one. But he's a guy I've been trying to throw in there a little bit more because again, you've been getting really solid odds on him. The books haven't quite caught up to how good he's been playing lately, and so you're still getting some pretty nice plus odds, or you're getting like minus 105. I mean, instead of these big minus 170, minus 190 over numbers, you've been getting solid numbers for him as well.
Yeah, yep. And I even look at his last 10 games here. He's got 5 games he has over 2.5 minutes of power play time. Fun the power play two position as well. That tells me Dallas, of course, they're a pesky team. They draw a lot of penalties as well because they're usually better than everybody else. So they're actually getting other teams to break down and actually draw penalties. And man, we got to look for Dallas to make a deep run. JT, I know they were our favorite, and Aaron, they may have actually been your favorite as well, to go ahead and hoist the cup this year when we first started actually doing this way back at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Toast. Anybody else outside of the Dallas guys that you guys are saying, hey, keep an eye on, see if he's out there in the waivers, see if somebody's maybe dropped him. Anybody maybe kind of a sneaky pickup for you here?
Yeah, Anthony Duclair. I mean, why does every team get rid of Duclair at the trade deadline? I mean, Aaron. I mean, but right. I mean, he's not a bad player. The only team he was dog crap with was the Hawks. And other than that, he was been really, really good with everybody at the trade deadline. A really good team picks him up. You would think, oh, he's 37 years old. He's 28. He's 28 years old. But he was traded 7 games ago. So 7 games with Tampa Bay. Now, when you get to play with Point and Kucherov on line one, again, you still got to be decent at hockey, but man, you just don't have to screw that up. And he hasn't screwed it up at all. He's got 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points in 7 games since the trade. Only 52% rostered. I did pick him up a week and a half ago when that trade went down, and I am going in the championship. And I need Duclair tonight. If he scores that goal and Kucherov, he'll be on the assist because he always is. Again, I'm going to turn that $7 into 185.
Yeah, keeping an eye on that one
Aaron,
for sure.
Talk a little bit about, either Jake Neighbors or Seth Jarvis. Those are 2 other guys. If you want to pick one of those are 2 other guys that have been, pretty good pickups here, good schedules, and actually been pretty hot.
Yeah. I mean, I got a little skin in the game here with Jake Neighbors. I got him on the one of the keeper leagues that the 3 of us are in. So, special place in my heart because I've been watching this guy, and the funny thing about the Blues, they're getting a little further out, but technically still not eliminated. Like they go on they could potentially grab that. I don't think it's all that likely, but it'd be because of a guy like this. Jake Neighbors, again, you're under the 50% of the rostered on most leagues, so he's still out there. He's a guy that he doesn't grab headlines. He doesn't, score. I don't know that he has a hat trick yet, but it's just kind of one of those quiet guys. So, but he plays really well. He's got Kyrie out there. That's you talk about drawing penalties. Kyrie's so fast. A lot of people do. He gets the hooking calls, the holding calls, the interference calls. So St. Louis has their fair share of power play time, and they're playing hungry. They are playing hungry. So I do try to look at that like, all right, what teams are they're not in a complete rebuild. So we're not talking like you were talking about like a loser game tonight, like the Senators versus the Sabres. Who cares? They're not. That said, they put up 7. They already hit the over, but they you look at those hungry teams, like desperate teams. They're not in rebuild. You could argue St. Louis is in a rebuild, but
they should be.
they have a chance to make it. It's kind of like that Philadelphia team, that the Washington Capitals. A couple of these teams that are right on that cusp, but right now maybe have a playoff spot. They got to win out. You might want to look at those teams. I think Jake Neighbors meets that. Then you mentioned him before, and I'll kind of let if you got anything but I'm liking Seth Jarvis, the Gensel move. I can't say it enough. I don't care about you can argue this till you're blue in the face, but Colorado won the free agency, or Carolina, I'm sorry, won the free agency. In my mind, Gensel has just it's a fish to water. He's picked up. He's playing well, setting up Seth Jarvis and Natchez and all that. They're just gelling right now. If I could go back in time, I'd probably put the put what I could on. I wish, hindsight's always 2020, but I put more on Carolina to make. I really like what they've done. So, and Jarvis is that guy. He's that guy that's right there, and he's done some post game interviews he seems like a pretty funny guy, like a like he's a guy that's good in the room too. So, yeah, but good calls on both those guys. Yeah, if they're available, man, go get them because somebody else is going to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Toast, I think I looked it up.
41% rostered.
Yep,
Sorry,
41%.
41%. Yeah, with Jarvis. And here's what I'll say too, and I'll turn it over to you, JT. Is I'm with you on that. Carolina did win it at the trade deadline. What do we always think about Carolina when we actually mention Carolina? Good defense, got a good first line, great goaltending, usually, right? And just need a little bit more offense. And they go out there and they actually get Gensel, and they also get Kuznetsov.
Yeah.
And Kuznetsov's been really, really good for them. Carolina, that's all they really needed to actually push them over the hump. I'd have a hard time actually betting against Carolina in the playoffs right now. And Seth Jarvis, 7 goals in the last 8 games. I mean, when you're playing with Aho and Gensel, like you said, geez, I mean, take it every advantage, and he's doing it. So Carolina's another team to watch. Man, this NHL playoffs is going to be awesome this year. Can't wait.
Cannot wait.
Next topic for us to go on here on the 5-on-3 2-man advantage is the Nashville Predators. What a point streak for these guys. 18 games. They're 16-0-2 in their last 18. They haven't lost a regular season game since February 15th, 9-2 to Dallas. February 15th, guys. We're at almost the end of March. They have not lost a game that wasn't in overtime since February 15th. This Predators team is on fire. It's crazy what's going on here. This is a team that I think people kind of forgot about and was like, yeah, whatever. They're okay. What are you going to do with them? And then all of a sudden, this team is like in the mix. It's pretty crazy. Looking through the stats, they've now all of a sudden this big win streak. They were outside the playoffs. They're now the top wild card with 90 points. They've jumped 4 points ahead of Vegas and 10 points ahead of the Blues, who we just talked about, who were kind of right there on the playoff push there. Big run here by the Predators. Aaron, what do you think about kind of what this team has done over the last month and a half to kind of get themselves in the playoff hunt?
I'm hard pressed to think of an example or when I've seen this. Maybe when the Blues won the cup, when they were in last place, and then they decided, we're going to win a cup, whatever that was all about. But maybe there's something that made its way to Nashville. There's something in the water. I don't know. But the story, and it goes back again a couple of pods and a couple of magazines has kind of picked up that story when there was some trouble with that team, that thumping that Dallas laid on them. And I guess I think the team had an event. They were going to go watch a concert or something. They were in Vegas. They were going to go see U2. And coach said, no, you guys aren't playing well enough. You didn't deserve it. Ever since then, they haven't lost. So whatever it is, it's just, it's crazy. Life in new life in Nyquist, Gustav Nyquist, when he played in Detroit, he was kind of a go-to. He was a top 3 round type of guy. Like he was putting, and then you didn't hear from him, and nobody knew where he went. And then he shows up in Nashville, and he's kind of leading the charge with those guys. So it's crazy. It's fun to watch. Just being a Hawks fan, like, I go back to that when they were on the ropes and they had the 5-on-3, and this was the 2010 Cup. They the Hossa took a major, I'm sorry, and they got a shorthanded goal to tie it, and then Hossa gets the game winner. Go back to that really crushed those fans. They've had this kind of this rivalry ever since then with Chicago. So I've always kind of rooted against them, but then the city itself is so fun. So all that said, I'm back at them. I'm back on their bandwagon, whatever you want to call it. I want to see them win. This has just been amazing. Roman Yossi is fun to watch. He's a guy that could play forward. He's a guy that, if he wanted to, but he's so talented defensively. He's been doing it since the day he stepped on the ice. It's just, it's pretty fun to watch. I like every minute of it. But normally, it's kind of one of those ho hum games, like, oh, it's Nashville. There's no star to watch. There's no this. I'm watching every game that they play, just their team game to watch. And Saros making every standing on his head. Oh, I don't know. I mean, is it enough to take him past the first round? It might be. It might be. They're so good.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't
like you
want to play
said,
him.
JT. I wouldn't either. They leapfrogged Vegas, and all their kind of what they're doing. All the ads they did. Uh, they might bounce somebody big. They might bounce a big
No,
name.
never want to get a team playing this hot come playoff time. That's the problem in
No.
hockey. We've seen it before where teams just get hot and they go on crazy runs. I mean, this
Yeah.
thing is wild. I think those 21-22 Avalanche, the last team to go on a streak this long during a season, is
They won
pretty
the cup.
wild. Yeah, and this team, I mean, again, if I you get them into the playoffs, you just don't want to see this team. Now that we're talking about Nashville and a shot at the playoffs, let's get into like playoff push action here. Kind of as our last topic to kind of finish out the show. Teams are in, teams are out. Let's since we were just talking about Nashville, let's actually start with the West. Uh, Pretty interesting right now as I check the standings. Here are the playoffs. So I'll give it to you right now as we go in the
Mhm.
West. Right now, we got Dallas leading the way in the Central with 99 points, Colorado 97, Winnipeg 94. Then in the Pacific, you got Vancouver 98, Edmonton 90, and Los Angeles Kings 87. Nashville right now, after that run, like we just said, they're the number one wild card with 90 points. Vegas, number two wild card with 86. St. Louis, 80. After that, everyone else is pretty much out of it. St. Louis has been on a tear to try to get back into this thing, but with the run Nashville and Vegas have put together, I think they could be in trouble. What do you guys think about here? Do you think the Vegas and Nashville kind of finish it out here and they make it in the playoffs? I mean, they're not that far out if they keep hot to jumping up a spot, at least in the playoff seedings.
Yeah, so I think out of the Kings, Vegas, St. Louis, and Minnesota, two are going to actually make it in there. You got to pick two there, and you got to think that that Vegas is going to make it. They've dealt with a lot of injuries this season. I mean, Aiden Hill just actually went down again, and he can't really stay healthy. But they say it may just be day to day, and he avoided catastrophe there. But Logan Thompson's actually been good filling in for that. Mark Stone's actually been injured. He's still actually on the shelf right now. Jack Eichel is actually back playing at a very high level at this point. So Vegas has just been one of those where, hey, it's hard to repeat. It's actually hard to kind of, they came out of the gate hot and then trying to sustain and whatnot, but injury bugs actually hit them. But you got to think with a team with that type of character, they know how to get it done. Vegas is going to be there. And the Kings, they have a lead right now, right? So, and that I think that cushion between St. Louis and Minnesota is big enough to where they can actually hold on to that. St. Louis would have to literally just continue this crazy streak they're actually on, and almost like I think Aaron said just about 5 minutes ago, they'd have to win out. And Minnesota, I believe they have their streak earlier in this, right after the All Star break. They kind of went on a crazy like 12-game run there, where I think they're like 9-1-2 or whatever. They went on their run, but they've came back down to earth as well. Not Kirill Kaprizov though. Kaprizov has been a man possessed, still actually trying to carry the team on the back, but they need a little bit of help. So I'm going with Vegas and the Kings there, and Nashville will hold that spot. I mean, they got a nice cushion there. If anything, they got to be thinking we're actually going to go ahead and be chasing Winnipeg, because Winnipeg right now at 94 points, they're struggling, man. You go look back at their last 10 games, they have not been good at all. So they're definitely struggling. I
Mm-hmm.
could see Nashville continuing this. They host Arizona on Thursday. That's going to be a win as well. So I could see Nashville leapfrogging Winnipeg, and Winnipeg's not going to fall out. So I kind of see the Kings and Vegas here. I don't know if you guys actually agree. And it looks like
Yep.
Aaron may have actually had some internet issues here.
Yep. So yeah, he bounced out. We'll see if we can get him back on here. But I agree with you, Toast. I think Nashville with 6 in a row, they're only 4 points behind Winnipeg. Winnipeg's lost 4 straight. Like you said, they have not looked great of late.
Wow.
So I'd kind of put my money on them as I was actually looking up odds to make the playoffs. I was going to pull it up here and see. We got to refresh. I'll pull up the odds here. Let's talk about the East, and then I'll pull up playoff odds, and maybe we'll say, hey, we like this one, we like this one. Maybe we'll bet on that one. What do you think about the East? Washington, Detroit, New Jersey, the Islanders, all kind of fighting to get in there. The Red Wings, we talked about all year. I thought they were a playoff team. You said they were a playoff team. Then Larkin got hurt, and they just fell off a cliff. It got ugly. And then he's back. They've looked better, but they've lost 2 in a row. What do you think about here on the East? Who do we think can make it out of this? Make it into
Um,
the playoffs at least.
and I've been saying all year that Detroit's a playoff team, but the problem is right now they very well may be a playoff team. Washington has come alive. And why they actually come alive? Because Ovechkin is on a goal streak right now. And Dylan Strome's been actually playing really, really good with him as well. You got Connor McMichael, the young guy's been playing good, and Hendrix Lapierre's been playing really, really good as well. Washington's figuring it out. They're doing all right. But again, Ovechkin's woke up. If you look at him, I believe he is now closing in on 30 goals. This was a guy at the break, I want to say, that had 8 goals on the season. And you just knew he was more capable of that. And now he's been probably the hottest goal scorer in the league in the last month. And that's saying something considering the likes of Austin Matthews and Leon Draisaitl and Pasternak, but obviously he's played with those guys. But so as of right now, the Islanders are dead. Okay, my pick, my dark horse, man. As soon as I actually anointed them to be the dark horse and nobody want to play them, they fell off a cliff. They're done. New Jersey, I just don't think they can make it. They've dug themselves too deep of a hole. Timo Meyer for them has actually played a whole lot better, man. He has finally catch a fire. He's in the last week and a half, he's the hottest player in hockey. Timo Meyer. Jack Hughes had a hat trick last night, but I just think it's a little too late. I just don't think they actually make it. Detroit's the only team that can actually play with Washington right now, and actually, it's going to be between those two, and it's going to be close, man. But Detroit's
Yeah.
going to have to get their crap together because right now Ovechkin's feeling it, and I think that for a team like Washington, who was sellers at the deadline, they're sellers for crying out loud, and they're still going to make it and come out of nowhere and play their best hockey this season. That's demoralizing for a team like Detroit.
It's wild. I got Ovechkin's numbers in front of me. He's got 26 goals, 32 assists, 58 points on the year, but it's been a lot lately. He has
Oh,
8 goals. He has 8 goals in the last 6 games.
yeah,
So, I mean, he has been piling on. He's got 3 2-goal games in that period. Until last game against Detroit, he had been on a 6-game scoring streak. So, like you said, Toast, he had been absolutely red hot. The Red Wings is going to be interesting. Like you said, when Larkin went out for that stretch, they just looked terrible. I mean, they looked terrible. They were getting beat down in games. The goalies, they went on just a crazy losing streak. I think they lost something like, it was like 7 or 8 in a row. It was really bad. When Larkin's out, they finally I think it was about a week ago. They broke the losing streak. They kind of been back and forth, and they lost
yeah.
1-0 to Nashville. And then last night, an absolute killer, lost 4-3 to Washington, and that's actually what allowed Washington to jump them in the standings. Washington now 2 points ahead of them. So that was a huge loss at Washington, and they're on the road with some tough games. They got at Carolina, at Florida, at Tampa Bay, then home for the Rangers,
Mm.
and then Buffalo, Washington, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Montreal. So
Yeah.
a real tough stretcher. They've got to steal a couple games. Montreal's a team we've been betting against constantly, and they keep winning whenever we bet against them.
Last night,
For some reason lately, I don't understand why they only win when we bet against them. But yeah, Detroit's going to have to do something. And that game on Tuesday, April 9th, at home against the Capitals might end up being an absolute monster game to kind of push one of those teams toward the playoffs or out of the playoff hunt. But Toast, I'm kind of like
JT.
you. Yep, go ahead.
No, I'm going to ask you right here. I'm going to read off some stats here, and sorry to cut you off, but
Oh, no good.
Washington. If you look at there's only one team in the East that scored the least amount of goals, and that's Montreal at 196 goals. They have 198. there's a minus 26 differential. How in the heck are there 36, 26, and 9? It's mind-boggling to me.
It blows my mind too because we talked about how bad they were all year, and they had been bad all year. And
awful.
it was like they didn't make some crazy run either. It was like all of a sudden they started like winning 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, and you're like they just started working their way back in. And then again, Detroit felt like they were in pretty good spot. Larkin went down; they lost 7, 8 in a row, and that's when the Capitals were able to make a push when the Red Wings just kind of fell apart there. They really need to pull it together. They haven't made the playoffs in over a decade. I know Red Wings fans, even if they get taken out early, they'd love just to be in the mix in the playoffs. So it's crazy. Hopefully they'll get in there. But Toast, here as we kind of close out the show, let's talk about some odds to make the playoffs here. Let me pull up what I had. I had it on DraftKings, kind of disappeared. Let me pull it up real quick again so we can kind of talk about if any of these we like, we don't like, anything better than something else. Let's see what we got here. Of course, they disappeared
I'm
on me
bringing it up
right
right
as
now myself.
I had them pulled up. If you can pull them up faster than me, it'd be great. I had them and then it went wonky on me.
All right, so playoffs. To make the playoffs, here we go. All right, so let's just talk about these teams we've been talking about. So Washington Capitals are a minus 210 to make the playoffs, and the
What's their
Devils.
no to make the playoffs?
Well, their no to make the playoffs is a plus 170. So I just don't know. But here's what I like.
Ooh.
The Devils are only 3 points actually behind Detroit, and they've been playing really, really good of late. They're plus 1,000 to make the playoffs. It's not likely, but again, they're 3 points behind Detroit. They're 5 points behind Washington with 10 to go. They're plus 1,000, and they're actually on a hot streak right now. That may be not a bad play with the Devils. The Red Wings.
I know.
Plus
I know.
180.
Well, that's what I was looking at. That's why I was asking you if you kind of feel like the Capitals fall off and the Red Wings pull it together and make the playoffs. Do you take the Capitals plus 170 to miss the playoffs, and then take the Red Wings plus 180 to make it?
Oh, that's a good
You could
point there.
kind of double up there. That's the only reason I'm thinking that. I like it because right now they're behind, but you could get on the Red Wings if you wanted to put a little money on both of them, and it actually hits. It's almost like a double up there with them making and the other one's not. So that's where I kind of saw like maybe a sneaky bet opportunity is take Washington no and Red Wings yes at both plus money at plus 180 and plus 170.
Yeah, you know what we should do, JT, is let's look into that, and we should really take a look at a really, really good look at the remaining schedule for both. And if we can maybe, I don't know, see if there's a good opportunity for Detroit to go ahead and pick up 4 points on the Washington somewhere, and especially, did you say they had a head-to-head game at some point?
Yep, they just lost last night. The Capitals beat the Red Wings last night to go ahead of them in the standings by 2 points. They got one more game coming up first week of April going against each other. So that would be a really interesting one. Those are the ones that are kind of out there. Those are the two that jumped out at me because beyond that, you're looking at Flyers are at minus 425 right now. Obviously, I don't want to jump on that bet unless you think they're going to fall apart at plus 330. Like you said, the Islanders, we don't feel like they can make up the ground. They're plus 500 right now, so they would need to make a run to make the playoffs at plus 500. Like I said, the Capitals minus 210 to make it, plus 170 not to, where the Red Wings on the other side were plus 180 to make it, minus 220 not to. And then, like you talked about, if you want to get crazy and think somebody makes an outside run, the Wild are plus 1,700 to make the playoffs. Blues are plus 1,000 and Devils are plus 1,000 all to make a run to make the playoffs. Other than that, all the other teams are pretty much locked in. So, I mean, you got the Knights right now are minus 2,000 to make it, plus 1,000 not to. So if you feel like the injuries are catching up and you don't like the schedule down the stretch for Vegas, that might be something you want to sprinkle something on as they miss the playoffs at plus 1,000. If they miss the playoffs, then you're going to look at like, do you want to take a team like the Blues to make the playoffs? Do you think the Blues pass them up a plus 1,000? Now that would be a heck of a bet right there, Toast. Take the Vegas to miss the playoffs take the Blues to make the
Yes.
playoffs, both at plus 1,000.
JT, I think we've actually found our what we're going to go ahead and just, again, we call that stack bet there, and actually have them pitted up against one another. Let's you and I actually have a working meeting to go ahead and put together that schedule, map out things, and make it a logical bet here. I love that. I love that right there. I mean, especially if you go 1,000 plus 1,000 one way and plus 1,000 another way. Now, I guarantee they probably won't let you parlay these together, but nevertheless, I mean,
That's what I'm
you
saying. You
find your
can't
favorites and
parlay
actually go heavy on
unless you
those and
find a
actually take a
different
chance.
book.
Yeah.
DraftKings won't let you parlay them together. You might
Yeah,
be
you
able
can't
to
on
on
this
a
one.
different book. Sometimes they'll let you do that, but that's what I'm saying. I kind of like taking both sides of it because it's almost like a double up there
Yeah, it's great.
if you do it. So I kind of like that that as a possible move too.
Let's get together, my man. We're going to come together, make the most logical bet here, and we'll continue to win money. I've been saying right now, recently, that DraftKings, they're scared. They're scared right now. They're not offering us any boost, whatever, on the NHL. We know they're scared. We've actually figured out a formula. We're all hot. I'm pretty much, and you and I are pretty much just walking with flames on us right now. So yeah, they're worried. Let's just say they're worried right now.
Yeah, we're gonna keep those bets. We apologize. The JT's parlays and the toast takes haven't got out there a lot lately. We've just been so busy. It's been crazy. We're like texting each other and like throwing in bets last second. So we'll try to get them out a little bit earlier on there, especially with the NCAA tournament going. Things have been wild with us going on that. I was way down in the tourney and I made one of the most ultimate comebacks ever in the last week and a half after I was sweating it out on my accounts, but I made some big hits there. So, but yeah, let's Toast, let's hammer the last part of this regular season here, and then obviously once the playoff matchups are set, we'll do a show where we get into the playoff matchups, what we like, what we don't like, what teams are betting to win series, and all that good stuff. So, but it's been great for Aaron, who had some technical difficulties, had to jump out here early, and for Toast. I'm JT. Any final words here before we say goodbye to everybody?
The only final words I'll say, JT, is again, don't overthink the last 10 days when it's coming to prop betting. You jump on McDavid, you jump on McKinnon. You don't need to do anything else. And ride would I don't know if I'd call it historic, but what they're doing is special right now. And the books are really just kind of letting you do it. And you really need to take advantage and put those two together in parlays for assists, points, whatever it may be. You're going to win. You're going to win most nights. So just forget about everything else. Ride those guys' coattails.
Yep, and if they miss one, just get right
Do it
back
again.
on it because they're going to
Yep.
hit the next one. So just keep
Exactly.
doing it. All right, for Toast Aaron, I'm JT. Check us out on Total Apex Sports. Also, you can look us up at the Stew with JT Brew. We're on the YouTube channel. Check us out, like, subscribe. You can always download us on your favorite podcast. We put up the shows usually after we do the live cast, so they're usually up pretty soon afterwards, and you can always check those out the next day. So we appreciate everybody. Good luck gambling. Hey, Toast, win a championship. Bring home a title in fantasy hockey in the home league. So thanks everybody for listening. You've been listening to Stu with JT Brew. We'll check you next time.